I want to play some audio that we played for you yesterday, but I think this is stunning. It's about Joe Biden and the firing of Viktor Shokin. Viktor Shokin was like their attorney general over in the Ukraine. Now, we have told you that there was no real evidence against Viktor Shokin being corrupt. Everyone says, "Oh, he's so corrupt. He's so corrupt." Well, everybody was saying that Trump was in bed with the Russians. Everybody has been saying that General Flynn was in bed with the Russians. We now know they knew. There was no evidence of that. Zero. The FBI was trying to close the case, and the Obama administration kept it open. So we know how smears work. But I want to play some audio that I think should be played every day, because we were told that the government of Ukraine knew that he was corrupt. Everyone in Ukraine knew. The president even knew that they were corrupt. The president of Ukraine knew that Viktor Shokin was corrupt and had to be fired. Well, that doesn't seem to jive with this new audio. This has been released because of a court procedure over in Ukraine, where Joe Biden has now been named as a suspect in a crime of interference with the government of Ukraine. Everything that we put out on the chalkboard looks as though the evidence is pointing to it's going to be proven in a court of law. And I want you to listen to this audio. The first piece is from John Kerry. We think he's on Air Force Two, and he is calling Poroshenko. He is the former president of Ukraine, and he's saying, look, Joe Biden is coming over, and he wants this prosecutor fired, and he's corrupt, and we want him fired. I want you to listen carefully to what he's saying, and more importantly, what the president of the Ukraine, who is in the pocket of Russia and in the pocket of the Obama administration, what he says about Viktor Shokin. Listen.
But before Vice President Biden comes, I just wanted to try to urge you to see if there's a way to get by this problem of replacing the Prosecutor General, Shokin, because from our perception, he's blocked the cleanup of the Prosecutor General's office, and I know the Vice President is very concerned about it, and I think it'd be good to try to have some resolution of that before the Vice President comes.
Okay, stop. I want to pause it there for a second. Notice what he said. He didn't say he's corrupt. He said he's blocked some of the progress on some of the other prosecution that we are interested in pursuing. So first, he's not making the corrupt. He's saying he's slowing the process down, and Joe Biden wants him gone. So can you do anything to work past this so we can get through, because Joe Biden wants him replaced? Continue. Oh, is that all in that clip? Okay, yeah, play the next clip, please.
Yesterday, I met with the General Prosecutor Shokin.
Yes.
And despite of the fact that we didn't have any corruption charges, we don't have any information about he doing something wrong, I especially asked him, no, it was the day before yesterday, I especially asked him to resign. As his position as a state person, and despite of the fact that he has a support in the parliament. And as a finish of my meeting with him, he promised me to give me the statement on resignation. And 1 hour ago, he bring me the written statement of his resignation.
Great.
And this is my second step for keeping my promises.
Okay,
I
I want you to listen. Stop. I want you to listen to what he just said. In spite of the fact that we have no information of corruption, that we have no indication that he's corrupt, there are no charges against him, and he's popular with the people. As a favor to you, I've asked him to resign. Now that's pretty explosive, especially when Joe Biden is saying that everyone knew he was corrupt. The President Poroshenko just said right before Joe Biden was landing, there is no evidence of corruption. We have no information on that, but I called him in anyway as a favor to you. Now, we also have evidence. We know that I believe it would. Do we have Jason on with us? Jason is our head researcher. Jason, are you there?
Yes, sir.
I believe it was, 2 days before this phone call happened that he issued a warrant or he was going in to do searches and to call in witnesses against Burisma, right? It was 2 days before this?
Yes, and it was even greater than that. This is when we showed that document that you presented on one of your specials that came from the Latvian government that actually named Hunter Biden by name and said, hey,
That's
we've got
right.
these weird
That's right.
transfers through these like shady money laundering channels. What's going on with this? Literally the next day, they started seizing the property of Zlochevsky and Burisma, and they were going to bring in Hunter Biden for questioning the day after.
That's right.
Then he gets called into this office.
That's right.
Then he gets. I mean, what's funny is you got to
Right.
think about what's going through Poroshenko's mind during the clip you just played. They had only hired Shokin for a few months. He had only been on the job for a few months. So Biden's saying, he's been destroying that. He's only been there for 3 or 4 months. He hadn't done anything wrong. And the reason he was there is because the last prosecutor general they had before him, he wouldn't investigate Zlochevsky. So the entire European community was like, hey, we got to replace the other guy. They bring in Shokin. The first thing he does is go after Burisma, and then Biden freaks out. This is very, very damning.
And so Zlochevsky is the guy who's with Burisma. He's the guy. And Poroshenko wants to go after Zlochevsky because Zlochevsky is not a fan of Russia. Poroshenko, the president, is in bed with Russia. He's pro-Russia. Burisma is run by people that are anti-Russia. I mean, none of this makes sense. And everyone needs to hear this audio because it proves at least that there needs to be an investigation, that this is not some conspiracy theory. It doesn't prove absolutely positively. You have to decide who's lying here. Is it us, Joe Biden, and Hunter Biden? It seems like he's really motivated. John Kerry says he wants him fired. Joe Biden wants him fired, and he wants him fired when he's there. It's exactly the same time as the investigation into Hunter Biden is starting to heat up, and he's about to call Hunter Biden in. It looks awfully bad. How do you explain this phone call if you're the media or you're Joe Biden or you're anybody who's been saying this is a conspiracy theory? How do you explain this?
You know how they'll do it, Glenn. And the incredible irony of this is that we just got finished with an impeachment. It was all based around a phone call with a quid pro quo. And Donald Trump's defense was it was about corruption. I was trying to weed out corruption. The ridiculous irony is that Joe Biden has now been caught. We didn't even have the audio tape for the other one, for Donald Trump's call with Zelensky. Now we have the audio. We hear them talking about it. They're talking about a quid pro quo. And that will be Biden's, his way out as, this is just like Donald Trump. I was talking about corruption. I was trying to get rid of corruption. They couldn't prove that with Donald Trump.
But that was their right. But that was their excuse. You have the president of Ukraine saying we have no evidence of corruption. We have no information on corruption. But as a favor to Joe Biden, I guess I'll ask him to resign. I mean, that's different than what you had with Donald Trump. This is the guy was agreeing with Donald Trump. There's a problem in Ukraine. I know I've got to clean this up. He agreed. Yeah. This guy didn't agree and did it anyway because he wanted the $1 billion.
This is why it's so important now to look at what the Senate is doing and how they just subpoenaed Blue Star Strategies. Because if you want to go and make the case that there was something beyond corruption, that it was more about Hunter Biden and the protection of Hunter Biden, Blue Star Strategies is where you go. Now, Blue Star Strategies, remember.
Blue Star, yeah, that's the PR firm that was hired by Burisma to convince America that there was nothing wrong, right?
That's correct. And they were lobbying the entire time, sending emails back and forth, trying to say, hey, stop looking at Hunter Biden, stop looking at Burisma. And we actually, Blaze TV actually has a source that was involved with Blue Star Strategies, also has a Ukrainian source. We've been getting information that a lot of information is going to come out through that Senate subpoena very, very soon. And we're actually going to get some documents, I believe, before a lot of other people do. So just stay tuned on that front. But a lot more is coming out.
So Jason, the one thing that I've said, Stu, you remember when we were looking at the Tides Foundation, and I told the researchers at the time, and I know I've said this to you, Jason, but it is so clear right now that whatever the left says the right is doing, I can guarantee you they're doing it. They just self-diagnose that, Donald Trump is going to be a dictator. Well, no, you guys are actually being the dictator in COVID. Everything that they say the right is doing, everything they accuse, it's because they're doing it. They either are using it to muddy the water, or they just assume that everybody is that corrupt that, of course, they'd be doing that because we're doing it. I don't know what the reason is, but they always self-diagnose.